My name is Dragos. I work as a project lead software development for Adobe I/O. Still no slides here. Share my screen. There. All right. Okay. So we're going to spend about 10 to 15 minutes, and I'm here to share our story on Adobe I/O with open source. For um, some of you, Adobe I/O is very known. So it's the interface between the third-party developers and Adobe APIs. And the story is that in this portal, developers come to get an API key, then they start developing an application, and then through this Adobe I/O API gateway, all the requests are being proxied, and they can happily enjoy and use our APIs. Today I'm going to focus on the Adobe I/O gateway and just share our story because it's part of the technology behind Adobe I/O. And later on, we're also going to hear more talks about other open source aspects of Adobe I/O, such as Creative SDK. So why did we actually build this gateway? So when Adobe started to basically transition from box products into services in the cloud, Adobe was among the few companies on the market that actually acknowledged the fact that we need an API gateway. Today, we have Amazon API gateway. Today, Apigee is joining Google, probably if you heard last week. All right. Today, we have application load balancer offered by Amazon. Well, 3 years ago, Adobe had its own application load balancer that we created. So because this technology was pretty new, one thing that we were kind of sure about is that we may not know what we're doing. So because we're building it only with Adobe, we may actually, as perfect as Adobe may be, we may actually build it in a way that David's law, Conway's law is going to infiltrate and penetrate. And eventually, after a few years, even if we build something, but we only keep it for Adobe, we're just going to end up something that will only work for Adobe and other companies will not be able to leverage. So we decided to make it open source, and we built it onto the most popular web server out there. We built it also using OpenResty. For those of you who don't know, it's just OpenResty adds Lua scripting capabilities for Nginx so that people don't have to write C code or C modules and compile them. It's just pretty nice. And on top of these things, we added our own layer for the gateway, which is validating requests, caching, throttling to offer protection for the services, and logging. We keep our repos into the Adobe API Platform repos. So according to David, we got 2 stars today. Yay, it's Adobe. Hopefully, this is going to move into an Apache project. So we're still finding our way through there. I'm just going to briefly introduce about these 4 modules and show you some things in action. So we have the API Gateway Request Validation. For reference, there's a link to where the code is. It's a simple validation framework for APIs on top of Nginx. It's declarative. If you're not afraid of reading some configuration file, it says that in this location, which is /API, we configure the gateway to validate, look for an API key, and also validate it and look for the service plan, which is how we ensure throttling and rate limiting. And then we validate this request. The source is in GitHub. As I said, I provide here as a reference. We also built a cache manager, which is, we implemented this, the Spring API for caching. And what's particular about it is that it can manage multiple cache stores, and it's built specifically for APIs, so not for static content such as images or videos. It's specifically built for APIs, and it's super fast. Another module is request tracking, which is what we use for throttling and the rate limiting. The key feature is that it's asynchronous, it's built for high volume of traffic with low latency. And then last but not least is an asynchronous logger. Again, currently supports Kinesis. Kafka support is underway. It also leverages another module that we maintain, which is the API Gateway, which is an AWS SDK for Nginx. And as fun as it could be, this is one of actually the most popular modules out there. We have pull requests, we have people that want to use it in various ways. And we are also blessed to have an integration done by someone else in the community with S3. S3 was a little bit tricky because it was files and uploads, and you had to find the signatures and stuff. So we kind of didn't do it for Adobe, but the community actually got it, and we're now going through a pull request to support it. Another interesting thing is that they found new ways to use this module in a way that um, we're talking about abstracting the cloud, but it looks like we're not the only ones. So initially, this version of the module, the Amazon SDK module, was we only used it like to go to the KMS or key management and get some secrets out, or to go log something out. But actually, the community apparently they want to use it to actually abstract the entire Amazon. So we have a pull request that is making this gateway like a proxy for Amazon. So in a way that is about Amazon only between the gateway and Amazon, but on the front face of the gateway, you actually don't know that you're talking to Amazon. So here's the community finding ways to abstract the cloud. Pretty performant. Just some data I can handle like 10,000 requests per second with this 10% of CPU, 63 megabytes of RAM, like really low resource. And this is pretty much thanks to Nginx, the Lua, and some of the stuff that we might have done there, buffering. Okay. We also ship a Docker container just to make it easy, like all these modules, the Nginx plus OpenResty plus the modules that I told you about and some other modules. We ship them into a Docker container, and we use Docker Hub to share this container. Along with our modules, which are listed here, we maintain documentation. Maybe we get another star from Joel because she was here telling us that we should use. And we try to document things and keep things simple. There's also other projects in Adobe that are leveraging this gateway. Probably you heard of CellOS and Ethos, which are currently have also embedded the gateway into the cluster, and it's being used. And before I let you go, because I cannot do a presentation if I don't do a demo, so I will run a demo. But before the demo, just one quick word on the performance. This is just a load test that we did. As you can see, if you can see all the way through the back, the average response time is 8 milliseconds in the gateway. Like the request goes into the gateway, it's being proxied, it's being validated. We do some things with it. Then we send the response back. The SOASTA showed like 8 milliseconds response time. Over there, it shows like 80,000 requests per second, and in the peak, we went all the way to 110,000 requests per second. So just to give a hint on the performance. There are other API gateway open source versions out there, and what is particular about the one that we maintain is the performance. And to date, we don't know about tomorrow, but at least to date, we can make the statement that this is the most performant gateway that is out there. We take part of the credit, so part of the credit goes to Nginx and OpenResty, the biggest credit. Well, the credit that we could take is that we didn't screw what they did there, so we still kept the performance. All right, so let me show you a quick demo. What I wanted to show you today is the gateway. I'm going to proxy a request to the API gateway. The request is going to go to Amazon Lambda. So I couldn't stop myself not to bring serverless into our conversation here. So here's the gateway exposing a serverless environment. We're capturing metadata into Kinesis and Elasticsearch. And I'm also going to show you the logging. So it's pretty much all the modules that I've been speaking about. The validation, because the access to Lambda is through an API key that the gateway validates. The Amazon SDK, the logger, and I'm also going to show you the throttling in action. All right, so just bear with me. I'm going to open a browser here, right? Okay, this is visible. So I have a very simple function, a microservice. You could think of it as like a microservice, but allow me not to even have a JSON response. I'm going to say maybe Adobe Open Source Summit. It's save. There you go. I have a simple Lambda function. At this point, I want to access it, so I've configured my gateway to be able to call into this function. So I say that Adobe Open Source Summit there. Now I'm going to make a request and allow me to make this bigger and clear my window and also make it bigger, bigger, bigger. Okay, is it big enough? All right. So I'm going to make a curl request. I'm adding an API key. I've exposed it to one of my endpoints that I use as a playground, and I'm saying hello world. And through all these things, yeah, it was pretty fast, right? I got the Adobe Open Source Summit, hello world, and I can change something. I can change to something different now. I don't know. Just, I'm sorry? End of line. Exactly, that was missing. So let's add end of line. Um, now you got me, Cosmin. You think this will work? Let's find out. Let's find out. I'm also curious. All right. This, no. Oh, well, got printed there. But thank you. So at least I was able to show you that this actually works. So now I'm going to find this. I'm going to play like I would find the API key. Now I'm going to make thousands of requests per second and get a lot of money from Adobe just by using them or trying to do a little denial of service, right? So I'm going to try to do this and 2, 3, 4, 5. Just going to put a few more requests on the pipe. So these requests are going to my Lambda function, and at some point I get the 429 error. Because it's behind the gateway, I have configured I have configured like 2 watermarks. There's a low watermark after which the request starts to be in delay. So I'm going to replay this. Probably you'll notice that after a while, some requests come slower, and then the 429 comes in. So I showed you all these modules in action. In behind the scenes, there's a Docker container, which is already packaged and is available in the open source. I show you this working. The last thing that I want to show on the demo is some of the logging mechanisms. So behind the scenes, as the requests were being proxied by the gateway, they were being sent, pumped out into Kinesis. And we've sent like 31 requests, and in the error dashboard, I should also see the 429 errors. There you go. There's the 429 errors. Let me try to simulate another error like a 400, and I don't know. Let me do a put. Put is not allowed. Yeah, it's forbidden. So I should get this. Yeah, the 403 here. So it's a semi-real time, but just wanted to give you a sense of how everything works in action is orchestrated. Now, some other things that are also happening is that we're integrating the gateway, and we actually had a talk on the MezosCon. Our groups in Adobe are not shy if I speak about Mesos or even if I speak about Kubernetes. The kind of the new way that we think of distributing applications into the cloud and accessing them. So this gateway is actually currently being extended to be integrated with Mesos, and we have conversations going with both Nginx and the folks from Mesosphere how to make this happen. And I also want to highlight the fact that it's interesting that, and this was good for Adobe, that we took a bet with this pattern. And initially, we weren't clear as a community, why do we need an extra hook in our flow, and what is with this pattern? And I remember having early conversations like with Creative Cloud, and we're struggling there, like, is this right? Is this right? Is this not? Sometimes you're not sure. So what we did is we weren't sure, but we still did it, and we did transparently, also sharing this with the community. And actually, that paid back because we got a lot of feedback from Nginx and from other folks, and we were able to shape this together. So in short, that's our story with Adobe I/O API Gateway. And if you have any questions, I'm open for that.